Hey guys, welcome to day 2 of group 4, Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry. Today is really exciting. We're going to get to start reading our book. Our do now asks for you to write down 3 facts about Reconstruction you learned from yesterday's reading of the article. Go back to the text if you need to. Pause the video and write down 3 facts that you learned. Next, we're going to take a look at our learning target. Our learning target says, I can use background information about setting to infer why something is important to a character. So when we're looking at this specifically for today, we're going to be thinking about the background information, specifically what we learned about the Reconstruction time period yesterday for our setting. Remember, setting is where and when the story takes place. Now we're going to use what we learned about the Reconstruction time period and the South during that time to infer why, remember that means our reason, something is important to a character. So think about what in the story is important and how does where and when the story is taking place impact that. We're going to pause here. I want you to I want you to independently read pages 3 through 7. The book does start on page 3. Your annotation look for as you read is how does sharecropping impact the Logan family? Now remember, if you're not sure what sharecropping is, if you go to the article, it tells you what sharecropping is on page 43. So if you go to those pages in there, you can find out what sharecropping is. When you're finished reading, answer our first question. It's a literal question. It asks, who owns the Logan land? Take the next few minutes to pause the video, read and annotate pages 3 through 7, then jump right back in. We're going to take a look then. At this point, you can read and annotate pages 8 through 15, still thinking about how does sharecropping impact the Logan family, and be thinking about what is important to the characters and why do you think it's important to them. Pause the video at this point, silently read and annotate through the page break on page 15. So that's where there's a pause in the words. Great, now that you've finished reading through page 15, we're going to get started on our CTQ number 1. CTQ 1 asks, why does little man wipe tears from his eyes after TJ says, well, old little man done got his Sunday clothes dirty? Write a full constructed response. We're going to really focus on pages 12 and 13 here. As we're looking at this, we need to think about what is happening in this. So first we see our character is little man. What he's doing is wiping the tears from his eyes after TJ says this. So we're going to go in our books to page 12 through 13 where we see that. And think about what's going on in those moments. So on pages 12 and 13, we saw little man was really trying to keep his clothes clean. When we're thinking about this, I want you to be looking specifically on page 12. He says, but I'll get my clothes dirty, protested little man. So this tells us he wants to keep his clothes clean, and that's some of our character motivation. Next, we're going to take a look really specifically at page 13 and think about what's going on here and how do you think little man might be feeling? That should go into your answer. How does a little man feel that might cause him to cry? And why does he then stop crying and wipe the tears away after TJ says this? What is little man thinking, feeling, or wanting in this moment? If you have any questions about this, please go ahead and call me to help. Go back in the text first, though, if you are feeling stuck. Next, we're going to take a look at our stop and jots. The first stop and jot asks, and it takes us to page 8, but it asks us, just showed my CFS copies. Why does TJ smile slyly and say, you'll be learning all sorts of stuff for the rest of us when Stacy is complaining about being in his mom's class? As we're working on this, I want you to go ahead and box in the word slyly. When someone is being sly, that means they are cunning, secretive, or deceitful. So definitely a negative connotation to that word slyly. So what is he doing that is being sly? So if we go to page 8, we'll see on these pages, down towards the bottom, it says, look on the bright side, just think of the advantage you've got. Then down at the bottom it says, you'll be learning all sorts of stuff for the rest of us. We need to look at this paragraph as a whole and think about specifically what advantage is TJ talking about to help us answer that question. Make sure you have one piece of text evidence as you answer that. Next, we've got our stop and jot number 2. It says, why does TJ say, doesn't he know nothing when little man asks what death looks like? So we're going to go specifically here to page 10. Why, that tells us it's going to be character motivation. Does he say, don't he know nothing when little man asks? When little man asks what death looks like. So let's go see where that is on page 10. And that's going to be right down there at the bottom. So let's think about what's going on here in the text. So it says, TJ looked around grimly and whispered, like death. He waited a moment for his words to be appropriately shocking, but the effect was spoiled by little man, who asked lightly, what does death look like? On the next page, it then says, TJ turned in annoyance. Don't he know nothing? So we need to think about, why is he annoyed? What was he trying to do? So when we go back to page 10, it says he looks around grimly and whispered, and then is trying to be shocking. So think about, what effect did little man spoil? And it says little man asked lightly. So he's really not getting into this like dark and gloomy and scary effect. And I want you to think about, because little man's kind of like killing the mood that TJ is trying to create, how do you think TJ's feeling right now? And why do you think he might feel that way? Finally, we've got our last question for today. It's our group discussion question. It says, based on the information text reconstruction that you read yesterday and Papa's explanation on page 7, paragraph 2, why is the Logan family land so important? Use one detail from the informational text and one detail from the book to explain your thinking. So we need to go back to, what do we know about land based on the article we read yesterday? So think about, again, we did discuss with our learning target today, looking at the setting and reconstruction. So think about, how does the land tie in? Why is it important? Next, we're going to take a look specifically on page 7, paragraph 2, where the book sends us in. And that's this paragraph I've marked right here. So think about what's going on here and what the dad says is important, because he says right here, that's important. So think about, why does dad think this is important? Again, go back to page 7 of your text. Have one piece of text evidence from this section other than dad saying that's important, because you're then saying it's important because dad says that's important, and that's not going to be a strong explanation. So I want you to think about, why is it important to dad in this story? And then also, based off of what we saw about sharecropping on page 43, think about, why is it important based off what you learned in this nonfiction text. I hope you guys have enjoyed starting to read this book. And if you have any questions, please reach out to me or any of your other teachers. Thanks, guys. I miss you. Bye.